welcome to the Healing and Heals podcast. I'm your host, Christina.
I am J Love, co-host.
And
Hey,
we
y'all.
are here to help you heal in the things that you think that you know.
Yeah.
So we're back again, round 2, episode number 2, you guys. We are ready to kick it off.
Celebration pops.
Yay! This episode is entitled The Strut is Real. If you guys remember from the last episode, and if you don't remember, go ahead and hit the rewind, catch the last episode. But on the last episode, we kind of talked about healing in the things that we thought that we knew. And once we kind of start digging around in it, we realized we didn't know as much as we think we did. This episode is going to be geared toward talking about the strut being real.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get it. We kind of already started background talking about that.
Yes.
But basically, we want to get into how the reality of our issues really begin to heal, how we start that process, and then, kind of walk through some of the things that we experienced on our own and how we kind of dealt with them too. So, J-Love, what are we getting into today?
So, we said the strut is real. So, when we think about strutting, we're also talking about how that walk, what that walk do. Right. What that walk do. So, I always like to ask, like, how the week was going. So, one thing we will get to know more of and about is that anytime we produce something, like if we were doing a sermon or anything else of that nature, if you have an event going on, you usually go through something leading up to that, right? So whatever that presentation is supposed to be. If we're going to be talking about cakes, maybe you got cake mishaps. If we're going to be talking about life mishaps, maybe you start having that. So we're talking about the strut being real and identifying the issues that cause us to have problematic moments in our lives, right?
Yeah.
But we have to first identify what that looks like. And so trauma, again, let's notate, Are we counselors?
No.
Are we licensed therapists?
No.
No, go see your people, okay?
Go
see your people.
Use your insurance cards,
That is
people.
not our proclamation today.
Right.
So they said, she said, we said nothing of the sort, but we will going to walk these experiences with you, utilizing biblical perspectives, and we will point you to the word. Can we do that?
Yes. Yes, again.
we can do that. So, admitting the issue.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
So I had one pop up like while we were prepping for the show, right? So we kind of had scanned back through and kind of watched the episode when we did from before, like the background version of it, right? And I noticed that I did not like sit up straight.
Okay.
And so it hit me all of a sudden, like, why I don't do that. I never really paid it any attention until we were getting ready for this episode. And so with that being said, let me sit up straight now. I was like, I looked over at you and I was just like, I don't sit up straight because the girls are real. Like the strut is real. The girls are real.
Yes.
And I was just like, so many times, especially working in a male-dominated field, when guys see you, like there's like your eyes are here, their eyes are here, and it's just like, hello, I'm even though I'm only 5'3", like I'm still up here, bro, not down there, okay? But it kind of makes me want to take away attention from that particular area. And like you said, trauma, like having issues where, maybe you were spoken to improperly or you were caressed improperly, or if someone physically did something to you, or even just made a comment that made you feel insecure.
Absolutely.
When I was younger, the first thing that grew large on me were my breasts, and unfortunately, the rest of my body didn't want to catch up as quickly. So, my dad would say things like, "You got big boobs and big feet," and I'm just like, "Oh God, that's horrible! I feel so bad," And so from that point on, he was of course joking.
Right.
My daddy loves me. Shout out to my daddy.
Hey,
but just even that little light, and he probably doesn't even remember stating that.
Yeah.
But from that moment on, I realized that was something that drew attention to me, and I didn't want the attention because if you saw me, then you might see me, and I might not like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, I had a habit of like guarding that, so I would just slump so they didn't appear. Like, that's a lot.
What makes us shy away from others seeing us and who we are?
I think
I have a thing about that myself.
Yeah,
so
I think that a lot of it, like I was talking to you earlier, and I think a lot of it sometimes just boil down to we compare ourselves to others, right? And we take whatever others' viewpoint of us is, and we internalize that. And all the time, that's not the truth. Like when we had the conference, that was one of the things we talked about, is telling ourselves the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And those three things can be completely different. You know, like the truth is, yes, there are girls, you know, but in reality, proportionate to my body, they are not extreme. Like it's not as bad as I made it in my mind. And I think that's part of where we struggle with admitting we have an issue, is that sometimes we blow things up in our minds and we take on these non-truths. And so we don't want to talk about it because we feel like it's such a horrible thing, but you know, the issue really may not even be as bad as you think. It may not even be an issue.
This is true. I was watching a clip of something this past week, and the person said, I may get this mixed up, but the person had stated that someone's perception of you, the perception of whatever it is that you're looking at, determines the perspective of a thing. And I'm like, that's absolutely factual. Like if you see someone whose character looks a little bit off, you're going to determine your perspective of them now is like, I gotta watch them, right? Because they look off. And in some cases that's true, because it also, I think discernment is absolutely a thing, right? And so, but when we are, excuse me, when we are not addressing that situation properly or looking at that perception, that thing properly, how do we then combat or say, you know what, now I got to ask forgiveness maybe, or maybe I have to let this person know. Usually for me in that instance, I actually became friends with some of the people whose perception of them I had off. And eventually I told them, like, hey, I want you to know that when I first met you, I don't know, I wasn't worried about you. I wasn't sure, you know, so my apologies. I got to know you a bit, and now I know that what I did see was different. But then other times it's that trauma factor, right? Where we're looking at things or situations from a place of pain. And going back to being the strut, right? That place of pain usually has a negative connotation. We don't want to address it, so we don't address it and we hide it away. But not knowing that we're collecting dirt and now we're tripping over this carpet because we're not addressing these issues. And now we may be ministers, or we are public figures of some sort and are bleeding all over the people, our issues, and you think that you're healing them. In addressing that, we also must realize the pattern of a thing, right? If this thing keeps coming up, where can you exit? Because the Lord always says that He will give us a way of escape. So how do we exit this problem?
So the main thing to exit the issue is, first you got to admit it, right? The old saints used to say you got to admit it and quit it, you know? So the first thing is to actually confess that there is an issue. I think the best example is you wouldn't set up a doctor's appointment, you know, and go to the doctor's appointment, and then when the doctor asks you, so what's going on today? And you say, oh, nothing, I'm perfectly fine. And a lot of times that's what we do, and then we get upset that no one is dealing with our issue or helping us, you know, resolve our issue, or even giving us grace in our issue. Because sometimes I can't strut out of it immediately. Sometimes I gotta walk in it. I gotta figure out how to deal with it in it. I have this wonderful pair of stiletto shoes, right? My favorite pair. They're clear with like this opaque tip to them. I love those shoes. They are not the most comfortable shoes at all. But sometimes I'm in a situation to where I can't get out of them, even though they're uncomfortable. Now, do I admit the shoe hurt? Absolutely. Right? But I'm not in a place where I can completely get out of them yet. Because I may not have anything else to step into. So after I can first admit I have an issue, then I have to figure out what is the root cause of the issue.
What's the tool of getting out?
Basically prayer, number one. You're going to have to pray. The second thing is you're going to have to adjust your environment or the situation that you're in. I might can't get out of the shoe right now, but maybe I can sit down and not put the pressure on the issue. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're so quick to address things head on. That's the kind of person I am. If we got a beef, let's talk about it. All right, like I'm not one of the people that wanted to drag out and be this long situation. Yeah. But sometimes, you know, maybe you just need to take the pressure and attention off the issue for a minute.
Is it okay to ask for help?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, do I advise? Let me say this: do I advise putting any and everybody in your business? Absolutely not. We went to church today. Shout out Love Fellowship Christian Center, 1150 Hillcrest Road, Pastor Rodney Stanfield. But Kim Space, the great doctor, Kim Space, preached today. And when I tell you she did that, she talked about the building process. And part of the building process is that you have to do an excavation. Yes. And after you have dug through and gotten rid of all the big lumps and clumps and you have cleared a way for a foundation, then you're able to start building. I think one of the ways that we are able to get delivered from or heal from an issue is sometimes we just got to go excavate. Some things just need to be removed altogether. Ain't no fixing it. Some stuff just need to go. And I think prayer will help point those things out to you. Yeah. And then having people in your circle that are able to say, hey, you real sensitive when we talk about this subject. You good? Like, you know, because sometimes we don't see our own issues.
This is true.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be looking out, but if I'm looking out, I can't see my own lips.
So I'm going to get rid of all of these things, and then what?
Then once you're done with
because I can't just leave it empty.
Of course not. Right. Of course not. Then you need to replace it with something. You need to fill yourself with people who speak positively to you. For the fact of, you know, I may not want to sit up straight, but, you know, the people on the other side of the camera are like, girl, you look fine. You're good. Like, don't worry about that. And I'm like, okay, well, if y'all say so, you know, like I trust that y'all ain't lying to me. You have to have people in your circle that feed positivity back into you. And then obviously the word of God, he's not a man that he should lie, neither is he the son of man that he should repent. He ain't got to say he's sorry about nothing. He don't never get your personality wrong. He ain't got to come back and apologize and he misunderstood what you said. He ain't got to feel no type of way about how you rolled your eyes this morning. You know, he woke you up at 4 and you was like, for real? Do you not have a clock in heaven? You know, he don't get upset with you about that. You know, he takes his time and he keeps going with you on and on. So I think that between prayer, having a very positive circle, whether that be people that you know personally, or whether it's a support group, small group at your church, whether it's the Healing in Heels podcast, whatever your source of positivity and sound doctrine comes from, that's what you need to use. And of course, the word of God, those things will help you get rid of the bad stuff and replace it with good stuff.
Come on, let's get it. What are the effects of holding on?
I think that
to improper wear. Let's complete that.
The best example that I have on that is God spoke a word to me one time and he said, you're holding on to what is killing you. And a lot of times, just like the doctor scenario, we won't tell the doctor everything, right? So we'll go in and they'll say, what's going on with you? You say, oh, you know, I got this little headache. And they'll say, okay, you know, well, how many times a day are you exercising? Ooh, I exercise twice a day.
Lies.
You know, lies. Right, my exercise included me walking from my car to the front door and back, and I park in the garage, let's be clear. And so, you know, we won't openly share the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And so we get into this this space where we lie to them and we lie to ourselves, and then we can't figure out why we can't get fixed. You know what I mean? Can't figure it out. But I think that is the biggest downside, is when you hold on to things, you don't give other people an opportunity to help you with it. If I keep this water bottle to myself, but you're dying of thirst, well, that doesn't help you. Now I have the resources, I have everything that I need, right? But if I never activate it, if I never use it, if I never open up, well, you could be drowning in water, and I may need the water. But if you never open up to share that, number one, I can't help you from drowning because I need water. I need the very thing that's killing you. That's the other thing. Let's start there. So
go ahead.
We're gonna slide right, because I felt that one. You all right? So that's the other thing. Sometimes what may be killing you, I could survive in and thrive in and flourish in, and you holding on to it and it's killing you, but I could do better with it.
That sounds like capacity.
Oh, listen, big time. I had this pair of shoes, that same pair of shoes that hurt me. I got the shoes because a good friend of mine had the same shoe, and I saw her in the shoe, and I was like, oh my gosh, that shoe is so cute. Where did you get it? And she was like, oh, I got it at this store. And I'm just like, okay, great, because we ain't free publicizing nobody. But but I was like, okay, I gotta find this shoe. So I went from store to store to store, and I was like, I can't find this shoe. I finally found the shoe, but it was in the wrong size. Hear me what I say. The shoe was in the wrong size. It's an 8.5. I am a perfect 8. I can't wear 8.5, can't wear 7.5, can't wear 8 wide. It has to be an 8, right? Yeah. And so I see the shoe, it's an 8.5. And I'm like, you know what? I just got to have this shoe. I'm going to buy this shoe. I told y'all it's the most uncomfortable shoe I got, right? I love it though. And I keep holding on to it. Now, I have probably come across this shoe in other stores, but I wasn't even paying it no attention because I already got it, right? And I'm not finna buy the same shoe twice. I'm just gonna continue to hold on to the one that's hurting me, right? Later to find out that she was like, I wish you would have told me you were searching for that shoe because that shoe hurts my foot.
I'm gonna pause you.
Go ahead.
Because something that you mentioned that we always talk about when we're carrying pain is, I got it. We don't. You talked about needing help, and we're not speaking about it because you got it, but you're drowning.
Right.
So do you really have it?
Right.
Is the question. And so I remember going back to the conference. One of the things that you told us as the host of that conference is don't be assisting me in this conference and I find out that you're drowning.
Listen.
Or that you need help or that you're going through and all these things.
Make me mad real quick, do that.
Right. And so, we as a team would come together with our confessions and we would pray on those things. And although sometimes we wouldn't be able to do anything immediate for the individual, we came together as strength for one another. And that was one thing I can say that I personally, appreciated about that process because we was going through some real things. Healing in our heels and in our flats. And because, we was going through some real things during that time. And I'll just say it in that way. But we came out, when we did come out, we admitted to being better. Being much better than where we were mentally, emotionally, because it was some real, enduring real physical pain because, Lord, what is this that I'm carrying? Right. What are we going through? And so it's that I got it, but cast your cares on me, he says in his word. And so I had to learn being in this space. When I say this space, being in a new state and such, is that my cares, sure, I'm casting them, Lord, but he's also sharing with me that, hey, I gave people around you, or I'm bringing people to you who's going to assist you and who's going to help you, and they don't want anything from you, right? And so coming from someone who is so used to serving, that was hard because everybody always wants something from you, or whether they're pulling on your gift or pulling on your intellect or just wanting you to pray. That our host group is what I'm going to call us, our people of prayer. And so we're rooted in that thing. Right. And so even when someone's not intentionally, hey, can you pray for me? We're up here, we're praying. We're praying in our hearts and we're meditating on these things. And we have our own, as my friend would say, zhuzh going on. We got our own host of things. And so at what point do you admit that you don't have it?
Right. And I think that what you hit on too about, the root situation, like when you have stuff going on yourself and people are constantly kind of pulling on you, because even in that particular pair of heels, no one knows that I'm in pain because the strut is real. Yeah. Let's be clear. It's my favorite pair of shoes and I walk like it's my favorite pair of shoes. So it doesn't look painful, but I know it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I know it's an issue. And I think that a lot of times if we get to the root cause of the situation, I bought the shoe because it looked good on someone else. I like the shoe, but I really initially bought the shoe because it looked good on someone else.
Going back to it was never designed for us to be in fashion. It was never designed
for us to be in that particular shoe. And I think that ultimately, when it comes to the strut being real, we can't pretend like the cancer isn't there, the divorce isn't happening, the kids aren't acting up, the money isn't funny, my job isn't like we can't act like those things are not real. Those are real. Baby mama, baby daddy drama, you know, whatever, all this injustice in the world, and, you know, people going missing and all that stuff is real. And I think the problem that we have, especially in certain communities, is that we're taught that as long as we don't address it, as long as we don't bring it up, as long as we don't talk about it, what go on in my house, stay in my house, as long as we keep the cover over it, it's not there. It's kind of like we think we're kids. When you're a baby, they play peekaboo. You know, when they pull the cover up, they don't see you, so apparently you're gone. You're not there anymore. And then bow, there you go. Well, no, you never left. It's the same thing with our issues. The issue never left. And we're sitting here in a time where people have so much to say. People want to confess their identity and what they identify as, and they want to be proud, and they want to have, you know, this card and that card, and, you know, whatever your thing is. And I'm not here to condemn or, you know, cast out anybody. You know, what is it to me? You follow Christ. But at the end of the day, whatever your thing is, if you don't admit it, you can never deal with it. No one can help you if you won't say you have an issue.
So talk about the strengths of vulnerability, because we know all of the negative things that can come alongside vulnerability. So what are the strengths to displaying your vulnerability? Again, these are to people who we believe we trust in, who have our best interests at heart, who we know that maybe they will pray for us. Or maybe my friend's not a believer, but they want to do the best that they can. So how do I show vulnerability in that, right? Because I've admitted to myself. Now I gotta come to somebody else and say, hey, I have this issue going on. Because sometimes, let's be honest, we don't always know what the root cause of a situation is. Like I'll introduce this in. I'm putting y'all in my beeswax, but with the spirit of lust, right? We look at lust and we only think it be a sexual thing, but you can lust for too much food. That's called gluttony, right? Or you can lust for too much TV, you can lust after. I can lust after Jamie Foxx, right? That's idolism. So going after all of these things, but I don't know how I got there. I can lust after sex, right? But I don't know how I got there. Oh, but then you start digging back into your own past and you're having all these memories and these reveals, and it comes to a point where, oh, you know what? This is how it began. You were placed in this situation. This man decided, who was supposed to have been babysitting you or whatever it is. You're the adult. So you're the adult, I'm the child. I'm only following what it is, the direction that you've given to me. So you asked for me to lay on the couch with you. I'm being obedient because I don't want to be in trouble. I feel uncomfortable, but I can't even explain to you from a 9-year-old's point of view why this makes me uncomfortable. So I'm just doing what it is that I am told. So now here we are in this space, and you are taking advantage of me. I don't know what to say to you, and I don't know how to bring this to my adult or whoever my guardian is. But here I am, we go 20 plus years later, and I'm dealing with all of these things, but where did it come from?
Right.
So now you have to go back to that source of pain in order to clean up this situation. But how do I do that if I'm scared? I was scared then, and now I'm embarrassed now that I have to address. So you hear all these stages of vulnerability that one has to come to. Sometimes we're too young, or feel as though we're too young, or now I'm too old to deal with it. Oh, you should be over it. But this problem, this root cause exists.
It still is causing problems.
I have to make it right by me. So I'm going to seek out someone who's going to stand with me privately, i.e. that friend, that mentor, that pastor, and then I'm going to go out professionally and showcase to this vulnerability. So now I have action steps. So what does vulnerability as a strength look like for you?
I think definitely it's a concept of what God said boils down to this, is when you are weak, I am strong. At the point where you feel your smallest, at the point where you feel the least qualified, the least capable, the least certified, the least of them all. He looks at you as the greatest. He says, if you offend even the least of these, you offend me. That's how seriously he takes your vulnerability. And I think that if God takes vulnerability and us feeling small that seriously, that even if he feels like we offended, it offends him. And that's a problem when you offend God. If he takes it that seriously, we have to find him in other people. We have to find that level of God in other people. And we have to be ready to, like we said from the jump, admit it. And quit it, because some stuff we can change on our own. We don't need prayer and fasting for everything. Some stuff you just need to stop. Okay, I ain't finna pray about you for everything. The other thing is we have to be in a space where we're okay with confessing that we have this issue and digging through and excavating through to figure out where it came from, because if you don't find the root cause, it's gonna sprout up again. And the last thing that we're gonna talk about today as we wrap up this episode is making sure that we do not nullify that the strut is real. You know, the bills really got to get paid. School is a couple of weeks away, and some of us don't even have the funds to be able to buy school clothes or pay for school fees. We got, you know, children that are getting ready to go off to college. You may not have the money. The rent may be due. The power bill may be on its last payment arrangement. Your job really may be laying off or cutting your hours. You really may not have food in the refrigerator. These things are real. And what we can't do is just push them under a rug and say, oh, well, God will provide, and just shut the door. We gotta admit that it's a real problem, because like she said, casting your cares on God is a real thing. He actually cares about it. And I think if we believe that he cared, then we would expect him to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Because if you really care about me, and you say you love me, and you say you are my protector and my provider, then when something bothers me, you ought to do something about it. You know what I mean? I know, you know, people say, you know, love don't cost a thing, but it cost him his son. And so since he paid that big of a bill, surely your situation is in his power too. So as we wrap up this episode of Healing and Heals, we want to encourage you to continue to dig into those things that you think you know. We are here just to openly share our experiences, and maybe we didn't hit on the exact one for you, but if you follow us to the next episode, I'm sure we'll cover it. So join us the next time for the Healing and Heals podcast. Until then, you guys enjoy the strut, because it is real.